Hey everyone, as you can see, I am not in Houston. I am at the Lodge here in Austin, Texas. Currently on the wait list to play 1-3 no limit hold'em. There's a $1,000 max buy-in and I plan to buy in for $1,000. Please like and subscribe. Hope you enjoy, and here we go.
Okay, this is the first recordable hand of the evening. I'm on the button and I look down at Ace-Jack offsuit. The middle position player limps. It folds around to myself, and of course I'm going to bump this one up. So I raise to $15, and the middle position player is the only one that makes the call. So our heads up to a flop, which is 4-5-3 with 2 diamonds. Middle position player checks, and of course I'm putting money into this pot. I've got some back doors. I bet $15, and the middle position player calls. The pot is $64, and the turn is the Jack of Hearts. All right, so I've got top. Middle position player checks. Of course, I'm going to put some more money into this pot. I bet $45, but unfortunately, the middle position player folds. Okay, in this hand, I am in the big blind, and I look down at 6-7 offsuit. The hijack raises to $15, and I am the only one that makes the call. So our heads up to a flop, which is 4-4-6 with 2 clubs. I check to the aggressor, and the hijack bets $20. Of course, I'm not going anywhere with my top pair, so I make the call. Pot is $71, and the turn is the 8 of diamonds. I check, and this time the hijack bets $40. So this is interesting. What could he have here? I'm initially thinking that he's got something like ace king, ace queen, ace jack, maybe king queen or queen jack, something of that nature. So I decide to peel one off here. I make the call. The pot is a little over $150, and the river's the jack of spades. At this point, I don't think I'm good anymore. I check with the intention of giving up to any bet, and the hijack actually checks behind. He ends up showing ace-8 offsuit, and actually takes it down with that turned 8. Okay, in this hand I am on the button, and I look down at ace-10 offsuit. It folds around to the cutoff, who opens for $15. I think this is a 3-bettable hand, so that's what I do. I 3-bet to $45, and the cutoff makes the call. So our heads up to a flop, which is 3 queen queen. Cutoff checks. I decide to put out a c-bet here of $40. Little less than half the pot, and the cutoff makes the call. So the pot is almost $175, and the turn is the 5 of spades. He ends up checking, and I check as well. I don't have much here. I pretty much have the intention to shut things down. The river is the king of spades. The cutoff checks, and yeah, I'm not going to try to stab at this one. I check behind with my ace high, and he actually shows king queen offsuit for the rivered full house. He said later that he was hoping that I would bluff the river, and I am certainly glad I did not. Okay, in this hand I'm on the button, and I look down at jack queen offsuit. It folds around to the cutoff, who opens for $15. I make the call, and both the small blind and big blind both fold. So our heads up to a flop, which is 2-2 jack with 2 diamonds. Cutoff checks, and I decide to check here. The previous few hands where I was the aggressor, I put out a c-bet, so I was changing things up a bit. The turn is the jack of spades. All right, so I boat up here. Cutoff checks, and of course I'm putting money into the pot now. I put in $15, and the cutoff makes the call. So the pot is a little over $60, and the river's the king of clubs. Cutoff checks. I put in almost a pot size bet here of $50, and the cutoff folds, unfortunately. Okay, in this hand I am on the button yet again, and I look down at a super premium pocket aces, the best pre-flop hand in all of poker. Middle position raises to $15. The hijack calls. The cutoff calls. Oh yes. All right, I'm definitely bumping this one up. I put in $75 for the hefty squeeze, and the middle position, hijack, and cutoff all call. We are very multi-way into a flop, which is 3-6 ace. Rainbow. Unbelievable. Top set. Middle position and hijack both check, and the cutoff jams for his remaining stack, which is about $126. What? I will take it. I jam, of course, to be heads up against this guy, and the middle position and hijack both fold. So the pot is a little over $550. The turn is the 7 of spades, and the river is the 4 of diamonds, but the cutoff shows 5-7 of hearts for the rivered straight. What the heck? How is that possible? He jammed on a gut shot? Wow. Texas poker for you. Nothing you can do at this point. I got the money in when I was supposed to, and the cards just didn't fall my way. Tough luck on this hand. Okay, in this hand I am on the button again, and I look down at queen 8 offsuit. The under the gun raises to $10, which is kind of a smaller bet than I was used to seeing this evening. And it folds around to myself and I make the call. The small blind and the big blind both fold. The pot is $24 and the flop is ace, ace, 7 rainbow. The under the gun checks. I make the check as well. Don't have much on this board. However, the turn is the queen of clubs. And the under the gun bets $15. Of course, I'm not going anywhere now. I make the call. I guess a case could have been made to put in the raise, but I make the call. The pot is a little over $50 and the river is the 4 of diamonds. This time, the under the gun bets $45. You know, by his small opening raise, I was thinking maybe he had a small pocket pair. A little bit scared that he might have something like ace 8 or, ace 7 or, ace jack. But anyways, I make the call and he shows pocket 4s for the rivered boat. What the heck again? Boy, howdy, this guy had a 2-outer and he hit it. Well, I had the advantage going into the river and, nothing I can do about it. I guess I should have probably raised after the turn. Maybe that's something I could have done, but regardless, I didn't, and I ended up losing this pot. Okay, in this hand, I am in the big blind, and I look down at 8-4 offsuit. Yeah, I normally wouldn't play this hand, but you'll see why here in a moment. There's a $6 under the gun straddle. The cutoff calls $6. The button calls. The small blind calls. Yeah, I think I'm going to make the call here. It's only $3 more, so I make the call and the under the gun checks. The pot is $30 and we are very multi-way into a flop, which is 6-4-7 rainbow. All right, so I've got a piece of this board. Small blind checks, I make the check, the under the gun checks. However, the cutoff bets $20. Button folds, the small blind calls, I call because I've got a piece, and the under the gun calls. Wow, all right, still multi-way into a turn, which is the 8 of hearts. All right, I've got 2 pair. It checks to the cutoff who bets $75. Boy, this is a tough one. Am I running into a set and am I running into a straight? I make the call, I peel one off. The pot is $260 and the river is the 3 of hearts. I check because I'm just scared to death that he's got a 5 or a set, and actually the cutoff checks as well. He ends up showing 6-5 offsuit. All right, so yeah, he did have the straight. I don't know why he didn't bet here on the river, but I probably wouldn't have called if he did anyways. But yeah, I lose this one. Okay, in this hand, I am in the small blind, and I look down at 8-9 of hearts. It folds to the cutoff, who raises to $15. The button makes the call, and I decide to call here, change things up a bit, and the big blind folds. So the pot is almost $50, and the flop is 9-4 ace with 2 spades. I check, and the cutoff bets $20. The button folds, and I make the call here. I've got a piece of this board. The turn is the ace of clubs. All right, so this turn makes it less likely that the cutoff has an ace. I check and he bets $50 and I make the call here. I think I'm pretty good. So the pot is almost $200 and the river is the 10 of spades. However, if he were to bet here, post river, I think I would probably give up. I check. However, the cutoff checks as well. I show my 8-9 and actually take this one down. The cutoff mucks. So I'll take it. Okay, in this hand, the hijack had just returned to the table and he posted a blind. I'm under the gun and I look down at ace king offsuit. Of course, I'm going to bump this one up, so I raise it to $15. Middle position player calls, the hijack ends up folding, the button calls, the small blind calls, and the big blind folds. Here we go again. Another premium hand, another multi-way pot. The flop is ace 5-8 with 2 diamonds. All right, so I've got top. Small blind checks. I'm going to definitely put some money into this pot. I bet $30. Middle position player calls, the button folds, and the small blind calls. So the pot is a little over $150. We're 3 ways into a turn, which is the 4 of diamonds. Small blind checks, I check, and the middle position player checks as well. So this is interesting. The river is the 2 of clubs. Small blind checks. I bet $100. I think that the middle position or the small blind probably have a weaker ace than I do. However, the middle position player calls and the small blind folds. So the pot is just over $350 and the middle position player shows 5-8 suited. I lose another big pot on this one. All right, folks, buckle up for this one. In this hand, I am under the gun, and I look down at ace queen of spades. I raise to $12. The cutoff calls, the button calls, the small blind calls, and the big blind folds. Yet again, multi-way into a flop, which is 8-10-8 with 2 spades. All right, so I've got the nut flush draw here. Small blind checks. I end up checking here. I probably should have put in a bet, but I'm glad I didn't. You'll see why in a bit. But it ends up checking around. The turn is the 4 of hearts. It checks to the cutoff who bets 20 bucks. Button folds. Small blind raises to $50. I'm not going to stick around for this one. Something's sending off all sorts of alarm bells in my head here. And the cutoff makes the call. So the pot is a little over 150 bucks. The river is the king of diamonds. The small blind bets $135. The cutoff jams. The small blind instantly calls. Pot is over 1,100 bucks. Cutoff shows 8-10 offsuit for the flopped boat. Small blind shows the 8 of hearts and mucks the other card. Holy cow, what a hand. I am glad I got out when I did on this one. Okay, in this hand I am in the middle position and I look down at ace 10 of spades. There's a $10 under the gun straddle on. I open for $35. And it folds back around to the end of the gun, who makes the call. So the pot is $74, and the flop is 2-8 jack with 2 spades. All right, I've got the nut flush draw here. The under the gun checks, and I'm definitely putting money into this pot. I bet 35 bucks, and the under the gun raises all in for $244. What the heck? All right, what do I do here? This is the question. I don't think I've got the equity. However, at this point during this session, I was a little bit tilted. And I end up making the call. The pot is over 550 bucks. The turn is the 3 of hearts. The river's the king of diamonds. The under the gun shows queen 8 of spades. So he hit middle pair off of the flop and was on a spade draw the entire time, just like me. Holy cow, I lose another one. Ah, well, I'll live to fight another day. Okay, in this hand I am on the button and I look down at king 10 offsuit. The under the gun +1 opens for 10 bucks. The low jack calls, the high jack calls. I make the call being in position. Small blind folds and the big blind makes the call. So the pot is a little over 50 bucks. We're multi-way into a flop, which is 10-5-5 rainbow. All right, so I've got top pair, really good kicker. It checks to the hijack who bets 25 bucks, and I am the only one that makes the call. So our heads up into a turn, which is the jack of clubs. All right, my 10 might be pretty good here. It is possible that the hijack might have something like ace 5. So when he bets $55, I make the call with the intention of possibly folding on the river if anything pretty nasty comes in. So I make the call. The river's the 8 of hearts. At this point, the hijack bets 150 bucks. There is no way that I am going to be good here. It is in all likelihood that he has definitely got a 5 in his hand. I make the fold. I'm glad I did because later he told me he had queen 5 suited after the hand. So I'm glad I got out of this spot when I did. Okay, in this hand, I am under the gun and I look down at ace queen offsuit. I raise to 12 bucks. The button, the small blind, and the big blind all make the call. Here we go again. Pot's almost 50 bucks, and the flop is 9 queen jack with 2 spades. All right, I've got top and a backdoor nut flush draw. It checks to me. I bet 20 bucks. The button folds. The small blind calls. However, the big blind raises to 40 bucks. I'm not going to go anywhere yet with my top pair here. I make the call, and the small blind calls as well. So we are still multi-way into a turn, which is the ace of hearts. All right, so I've got 2 pair. Small blind checks, but the big blind bets 100 bucks. Oh, man. All right, so it is certainly possible that he's got something like king 10, 8-10. Maybe he's on a spade draw. This is a tough situation. I have been tilted now for at least the past hour. I make the call with my 2 pair and the small blind folds. Pot is 368 bucks and the river is the 4 of spades. So I've got the ace of spades. So I've blocked the nut flush. However, the big blind bets 150 bucks. This is less than half size pot. The table had just seen this guy bluff twice in the past 30 minutes. And I was thinking that maybe he is potentially bluffing here. I end up making the call, which ended up being a massive mistake. And he does show 8-10 of spades. So he flopped the straight and he rivered the flush. And yeah, I lose another massive pot. Dang it. That's all right. Wait till you see this next hand. Okay, in this final hand of the evening, I am in the cutoff and I look down at ace king offsuit. The under the gun bets 10 bucks, the +1 calls, middle position player calls, and the low jack 3 bets to 70 bucks. What the heck? I 4-bet jam, all in for nearly 400 bucks. It folds around to the low jack who makes the call. All right, we are heads up into a flop, which is king 8-4 with 2 hearts. All right, top. Turn is the 6 of hearts. I don't have a heart in my hand. The river is the 2 of hearts. Oh man, please don't have a heart. Low jack shows pocket jacks, one of which is a heart, and I lose another massive pot. This one nearly $830. What a session. Holy cow.
Man, that was a beating. This was the most I've lost in a single session. I bought in for 1,000, added on for 500 more about 3/4 of the way through the session, and kept getting bad beat after bad beat. I don't know if it was a bad beat, if those were bad beats or not. I got it in pre-flop when I was supposed to, got top set, and just got outdrawn. Rough night. You know, I was expecting a little bit more, I guess, at the lodge here in Austin, but, you know, hey, I'm glad I got to come out. It was an interesting night, and so I was in for 1,500 total, out for 0, big goose egg, and I've had enough for the evening. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.